for me, that's why I felt a bit inconsistent. 'Cause I was like,
there's lots of inconsistencies in this movie.
Mm.
Shall we talk about how the movie's message is basically, if you step out of line, we're gonna beat you down until you know your place, but we're not actually going to give you a better way, right? At no point in this movie. So the entire thing about the movie is, in the first movie, Arthur and his followers essentially kind of erupted in this riot, right? Where they essentially set fire to the city, right? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how it basically comes across as, right? And the entire thing is about society has been beating us down, and so we no longer feel any need to abide by its rules, because then they're only there to keep us down, right? That's kind of one of the things that's in the first movie, right? And the second movie is essentially about the consequences of that catching up with Arthur, right? He's in prison, he's at the mercy of the guards, he's in the justice system, and he has to kind of prostrate himself before the system for mercy, right? He has to argue that he was insane, that he is better now, and all of these things, right? And the guards humiliate and brutalize and abuse him on a daily basis. And so he and his followers are essentially being punished for having stepped out of line, right? But at no point does anybody show how they should have acted, right? Their punishment is not that they chose the wrong path, it's that they resisted in the first place. So at the same time, this movie is tearing down and denigrating Arthur, right? And everything he stands for. But at the same time, it doesn't show what he should have done, like where his mistake was. It does not argue that, oh, actually, Arthur should have done this and this and this, and then he would have had a better life, and it's his fault for choosing violence instead. The movie does not make a case for what a better way is. It only punishes like disobedience, essentially. That's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, it just pretty much feels like it's just a film for justice, as in like justice for those that felt offended.
It's the system punishing people who step out of line.
Yeah.
Right? But that's kind of how it's perceived by Arthur, right? And you might think that if this is a refutation of that perception, that Arthur is like this noble resistance leader or whatever, right? Or the leader of the downtrodden and whatever, then if you make a movie about showing how that is wrong, then maybe you should show what they should be doing with their lives, how they could have better lives and stuff like that, without resorting to violence and without killing people randomly and without breaking the law. But nothing like that happens. It's just purely contempt for Arthur.
Yeah.
Like on the movie's part. I'm not talking about plot. I'm not talking about any characters in there. That's what drives the entire thing.
I agree.
I think that is very mean-spirited and very gross. And that's the part that made me uncomfortable. Like, I'm kind of okay with a movie that says, this is a bit like Aragorn's tax policy, right, from Game of Thrones. Like you have these genre conventions. In fantasy, that's the rightful king who defeats the evil wizard, whatever. And in superheroes, it's the good guys with powers catch the bad guys with powers, and that's how you solve all problems. And then I think you can tell a story about what happens after. If a villain actually gets caught by the law and actually gets treated according to the law, what will actually happen to them when their costumes and their antics and their rhetoric is stripped away, what's left of them. That, like, you could, in theory, have a really interesting movie about this. But you can do this in a way that's not mean-spirited. That does not simply seek to beat down its protagonist, but actually offer something more positive. And this movie offers nothing positive.